This is one of the things people like to talk about, to break the bonds which have connected them with another. Well, you want other bonds. You want righteous bonds. And this is what Christ was teaching you, how to form those righteous bonds. This is why one of the first things he commanded, only thing he commanded, was that you sit down in these tens, hundreds, and thousands and make sure that everybody had enough to eat, the loaves and fishes. I know it's a real controversial point when I explain what actually happens. The people weren't short of food. The apostles were short of food. The apostles weren't going to go to town and get food for 30,000 people. Well, how are they going to do that? They're going to carry 30,000 loaves of bread back because these people are short of food? No, it was the apostles who were short of food. Once you understand what they were doing out there, what was going on, why Christ commanded that his disciples make the people sit down in the tens, hundreds, and thousands, you will understand the gospel even better. Now, why he was saying that was because that's how you create the bonds which connect you in the kingdom of God. It's not great signs and wonders. The way that you're creating the bonds in the kingdom of God is loving one another, being there for one another, sharing with one another, forgiving one another, blessing one another. It's not contracts, covenants, and constitutions. That's what Cain uses. That's what Pharaoh uses. That's what Caesar uses. That's what Lamech uses. But we're not supposed to make covenants with them, and we're not supposed to covet our neighbor's goods. They have you all making covenants with them that are based on covetous practices. They're worried about the left ushering in socialism when Social Security is socialism, public school is socialism, Federal Reserve Bank of Bankers is socialism. You've already got all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto law in the United States. And that happened when Republicans and Democrats were in power. They're not doing what he said, sitting down in those tens, hundreds, and thousands. Several people were asking me, they want to know what that looks like in my community, where I am right now. They're anxious. They're desirous. So the problem is that I cannot manifest this by a wave of a wand. Christ had already been ministering to people enough so that he had, an audience of around 30,000 or more people. I mean, it was 5,000 men and their families. So right away we know there was at least 10,000 because that included his wife. If you include his kids, which some of his kids might be 20 or 30 years old or 40 years old, and he might have 10 kids. So it could have been 50,000 people there or 60,000 people there. And he says, sit down in the tens, hundreds, and thousands. There's not going to be any loaves and fishes until people are doing that. They're trying to tell us that the loaves and fishes came out of the thin air. It's a great story, and I'm sure God could make loaves and fishes come out of the thin air. But the story is much simpler. They only needed food for the apostles, who were literally in the place of the Levites. They were the new ministers of the kingdom of God. The old ministers were the Levites. And they were saying, we're short of food. They were going to go to town and get food for them. They weren't going to go to town and get food for 50,000 people. There wasn't enough food there. These people came out there because it was a planned event. They brought food with them. But according to the law, they had to share that with the ministers. And they hadn't done that yet. But they did. Like I said, if you were actually doing what Christ said, you would have the tools to thwart the present corruption that is taking a hold of the world today.